baixo, meu corão desgastaste. Agora vou te triturar, te reduzir a pi, pois isso que vou te mesmo, vou acabar com o show. Teus beijos eram veneno, me deixaram sem alma. No teu abraço frio, perdi toda a calma. Cegaste-me com promessas, com mentiras tu me prendeste. Mas agora a hora de justiça, que tu pagues o que fizeste. Vieira, as culpas tu me enganaste, com tua falsa paixão meu corão desgastaste. Agora vou te triturar, te reduzir a pi, pois isso que vou te mesmo, vou acabar com o show. Tu me enganaste, com tua força paixão meu corão desgastaste. Agora vou te triturar, te reduzir a pi, pois isso que vou te mesmo, vou acabar com o show. Tu me enganaste, com tua falsa paixão meu corão desgastaste. Agora vou te triturar, te reduzir a pi, pois isso que vou te mesmo, vou acabar com o show. Teus beijos eram veneno, me deixaram sem alma. No teu abraço frio perdi toda a calma. Cegaste-me com promessas, com mentiras tu me prendeste. Mas agora a hora de justiça, que tu pagues o que fizeste. Viei ao que fizeste. Viei ao que fizeste.
Cleveland, 10 years ago. Bobby had been working as a night guard at the old cemetery in Cleveland for several years. Usually, the nights passed quietly, silence, the creaking of the wind among the graves, and the occasional rustling of wild animals. But tonight, something felt off. The moon barely peeked through the clouds, and Bobby sensed a strange tension in the air. "Damn, I don't like this," he muttered, adjusting the flashlight on his belt. Walking between rows of graves, he stopped by an ancient mausoleum built at the turn of the last century. He thought he heard muffled moans. Bobby froze, listening intently. "What the hell?" he frowned, straining to hear. The moans seemed to come from behind the mausoleum. At first, Bobby thought that maybe some homeless person had gotten onto the cemetery grounds. He directed his flashlight toward the sounds and slowly approached. His heart raced, and his palms grew slightly sweaty. The moans grew clearer. "Well, just what I needed," he muttered as he reached the corner of the mausoleum. "Who's there?" When he rounded the corner, he stopped abruptly. His eyes widened in horror. "Oh, God! What the hell is this?" Bobby blurted out. On the ground, bound hand and foot, was a young man, his mouth gagged, and hovering over him was a woman in a long, sleeveless yellow dress. Her long black hair obscured her face, but her movements were so strange and fluid they seemed inhuman. It was as if she was consuming his soul with her actions. Bobby froze, his mind refusing to believe what was happening. Everything around him seemed to slow down. "What the hell?" he managed to utter, barely breathing. His hand shook, and the flashlight wobbled in his fingers. The woman suddenly stopped, as if she sensed his presence. Slowly, almost beastly, she turned her head towards the guard. Her eyes met Bobby's, and he felt an icy terror that went straight to his bones. "What are you? Who are you?" His voice was filled with panic. He took a step back, but his feet felt as if they were glued to the ground. She hissed piercingly, like a cat, and the eerie sound made his heart freeze. In the next moment, her hands were around the young man's throat, squeezing as if it were effortless. "No, no, no!" Bobby screamed, his voice breaking as the young man's blood sprayed onto the ground. He wanted to do something but was completely paralyzed by fear. The woman cast one last glance at the guard, her eyes gleaming in the dark as if assessing whether to kill him as well. But instead, she leaped back and, disappearing into the shadows of the mausoleum with incredible speed, vanished. Oh God. Oh shit. Bobby grabbed his head, struggling to catch his breath. What was that? What the hell just happened? He fell to his knees beside the dying young man. The man was gasping for breath, his eyes filled with pain and terror. Bobby, with trembling hands, tried to remove the gag and untie him, but it was futile. Hang on, man, hang on. Bobby whispered desperately. God, what do I do? But it was too late. The man gave a final weak breath and fell silent. His body went limp, and his eyes dulled. Bobby remained on the ground, unable to believe that it was all real. No. No, he whispered to himself. This can't be true. What the hell just happened? He didn't know how much time passed before he could get up and call the police. The patrol officers arrived quickly, inspected the scene, but found no trace of the woman. All that was left was the dead body of the young man, covered in blood. They couldn't identify the deceased, as he had no identification on him, and his killer had vanished as if dissolved into the night. Bobby tried to forget that night, but the horrors haunted him even during the day. Sleepless nights and memories of that woman drove him to despair. Soon, alcohol became his only solace. Bobby quit his job at the cemetery and turned into a shadow of his former self, trying to drown out everything that had happened with a bottle.